sip, jeera sip. MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिप प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा सिप MDH का जलजीरा
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH
महाशय धर्मपाल जी के 130वें जन्मदिन पर MDH मसालों पर पाइए 10% एक्स्ट्रा। अब स्वाद के साथ बचत भी। अब पाइए बचत ही बचत।
All right, well, the US-Iran war is entering a dangerously escalatory phase with President Donald Trump issuing a dramatic 48-hour ultimatum to Tehran. Trump has warned that if Iran does not fully reopen the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for nearly 20% of global oil, the United States will obliterate Iran's power infrastructure, starting with its largest plants. This comes as the waterway remains partially blocked, sending global oil prices soaring and triggering fears of a wider economic shock. Tehran's response has been defiant and deeply alarming. Iran's Revolutionary Guard say any US strike will be met with sweeping retaliation, including targeting American-linked energy infrastructure across the region and completely shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. At the same time, Iran has signaled a partial compromise, allowing shipping through the strait but excluding vessels from countries it considers enemies, including the US and Israel. So what we are seeing tonight is a high-stakes standoff, a ticking 48-hour clock, a global oil artery under threat, and two sides openly preparing for escalation. The question now, does this ultimatum force de-escalation or push the region closer to a full-scale, bigger war? We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the program is Ambassador Alan Pinkas, former diplomat. He's joining us all the way from Tel Aviv in Israel. Mr. Sumit Peer, senior political commentator, is with us on the broadcast as well. And Ambassador Sushil Singhal, former diplomat, also with us on this all-important conversation. Ambassador Pinkas, I'll begin with you. Sir, appreciate you being over here, but the fact of the matter is what in fact is worrying to the world and perhaps to some extent to the countries who are not directly involved in this conflict with Iran is the fact that Iran continues to be defiant. It continues to in fact soldier on despite a number of these threats which have come through America, through Donald Trump. But you know, it cannot also be blamed on Iran, because Donald Trump yesterday just said that they are thinking of winding down this war because they have achieved their end objective. And today he is giving an ultimatum. So obviously confusing signals will lead to more defiance from Iran. Your take?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. What Mr. Trump calls, what people who follow President Trump, I'm talking about the analysts and commentators, what they call strategic ambiguity is in effect a lack, an absence of any kind of strategy. And you know, we look at this war, and there are two sets of issues that I'd like to address in 30 seconds or less. The first is who controls escalation. We tend to think that the US controls escalation because of military superiority and because effectively the President of the United States can decide that the war is over tomorrow morning or decide to escalate it, as you indicated, Vinit. And then we're looking at 2, 3, 4 more weeks of war and escalation and aftershocks and oil and energy and fertilizers and gas and what have you. On the other hand, you look at this defiance that you mentioned, and I think that too is correct, that Iran is showing, and you see that despite the tactical military defeats that Iran sustained, and they are formidable, strategically, they're winning. Now, this is not a win in the sense that you can proclaim victory, but the fact that the regime is intact and the fact that they are defiant and the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is still closed and the fact that they are lobbing missiles every day into Israel. There was a siren here 2 hours ago. We'll probably have another one in the next hour. And lobbing missiles into the Arab Gulf suggests suggests that strategically Iran is not only defiant but is standing on both its feet, which leads me to the second set, and that is what may happen. Now, I know we don't know about the duration of the war, and as I said, President Trump can bail out and withdraw unilaterally and just declare victory and go home in the next 24 hours or not. I don't know. But there are two ways of looking at this, and two scenarios that can transpire. The first is that the Iranian regime is so weakened, that the military is so degraded, that the Iranian state is on the verge of collapse. And that is what Mr. Netanyahu wanted, and that is what Mr. Trump said already happened, although it didn't. But the second scenario, which is more likely and far more ominous, is that the regime stays intact. The U.S. has to back down at some point because of the economic and energy repercussions and immediate effects on world markets, including in India, where you are. And then Iran not only stands on its feet, but proclaims some kind of a victory and has an added impetus to forge on with its nuclear program, in which case neither Israel nor America's strategic objectives, not that I know what they were, but let's assume that they were about curtailing that ambition, that will not be achieved. That cannot be accomplished.
You're absolutely right, sir. That will not be accomplished. And Sumit Peer, you know, it is also incumbent on us to understand as to, you know, why would Iran be now punching above its weight? We've already seen, you know, what the Israeli strikes have done to their predominant leadership. 40 of, you know, their main command was wiped out, and there was no intelligence, preemptive intelligence that predicted that this was going to happen. Do you think that Iran, too, I beg your pardon, is also trying to, in fact, put out this false bravado when it knows that its strength as well as its options are very limited?
Vineet, thank you very much for having me on your show. And as usual, a beautiful question. You summed it up. You know, in your shows, I've been talking about this false Islamic bravado. That's the word. We have seen with our neighbor Pakistan. We've seen in all the Islamic countries, we've seen with all these Islamic radical tanzeems or jihadis, they talk about big, they talk a lot of things. They will wipe out the Zionists, we're going to wipe out the Kafirs, we'll teach them a lesson today. But you know, but Trump rightly says, you talk a lot. That's what he said. You talk a lot, what are you going to do? You see, this regime works on this false Islamic bravado only. If you look, let's talk some numbers, Vineet. You have 120 ships down the Persian Gulf. You have more than 46 minesweepers gone down the Persian Gulf. Out of your 8 major ports, 4 are burning. The fleet on the Caspian Sea is down. Your missiles, but the way you're firing are down by 90%. Your drone infrastructure is taken out by 90%. Your major leaders are taken out of the 4, those 15, 10 and 5. First 3 were taken out of the balance 5. 1 is taken out. It's a matter of time. We will have more eliminations happening up. You have your Kharg Island, which has no defense. Your oil storage has been taken out. Your sovereignty has been violated 15,000 times. Because every time a jet flies in and does a sortie, your sovereignty is violated. So there are jets who have gone and come back. So your jets have flown over you 30,000 times, and there is not much you can do. Yes, you can talk about the bravado. Yes, you can talk about things, because understand the mentality of the regime. What Marco Rubio rightly said, you are not talking to a government, you are talking to the Shia clerics who interpret the book in their own way and decide the geopolitics based on that. Look, today the challenge is these people say that I believe in Shahadat, then surrender. Shahadat is, this, I don't want surrender. That is not what I believe. I believe in the world, I believe the life starts after the death. But for people like you and me and millions of people always still believe life is here, yaar. We don't believe in life after death, so they believe in life after death. This bravado has given them power. This is why they're hanging on to the power. If they start changing that, imagine they say we want to talk with America. What is left out of them? What are they going to compromise on? And tell me something, sir. You have fired 200 ballistic missiles at Iran with 3 hits, Israel with 3 hits, unfortunately, 532 drones. You have fired more than 300 times, 100 times or 200 times that ammunition on your neighbors who are Muslims. You are shattering the economy of Middle East. You are killing more people here and there than you have been able to do. What is the damage you have been able to cause to American, Israeli military so far? Practically not much, hardly anything which you can count on. If I look at your damage, your Air Force is gone, your Navy is gone, you are decimated. And sir, let's not forget one thing, you have 1.5 months, 2 months of foreign exchange reserve left. How are you going to hold the country together? How are you going to run it? Where is the money going to come from? The Pentagon has asked for under $200 billion. Who is going to pay you the money? How do you run the country, Mr. Pezeshkian? And Mr. Pezeshkian, if you are still in control, then why were you talking of resigning? Why were you saying, I am not supposed to meet the Supreme Leader? No, has anybody seen the new Supreme Leader? Is he the phantom? Is he the ghost who walks? Is he the ghost who talks? We don't know even who the Supreme Leader is. What is going to be his position? Look, if they leave this bravado, the game is over, Vineet. They are decimated. They killed their own people. This regime, Iran has been devastated under this regime. 50 years of devastation is there. And if a new regime comes, which is democratic, which is more friendly, Iran can have a much better future. And I fundamentally disagree with one point. A Molana wearing a black cape and having a white beard cannot decide who will live and who will die. And by the way, if Jews are number 1 in the list, Hindus are called Hanud. They are number 2 or number 3 in the list. It's not you are out of the list. By the way, let me make it clear on national TV. It's not they are friends of ours. Yahud is number 1. Hanud is number 2 or number 3 in the list. That is where it is. It's as simple as that. This is a radical terrorist regime. This has mainstreamed Islamic terror. You called Islamic terror resistance. You have put billions and billions of dollars on striving them. And last 50 years, wherever you got a nickel, wherever you got a dime, what did you do? Did you build road, buildings? Did you do R&D labs?
You're quite right. You're quite right, Sumit. Yeah.
Bunkers and missiles. And give them 50 days, sir. They've been doing it for 50 years. Let's give them 50 days of survival. Let's give them a fair fight.
Okay, let's give them a fair fight. Ambassador Singhal, in fact, it's pathetic to see that Iran is also attacking civilian areas now. It's also attacking nuclear facilities in Israel. And let's not forget, Ambassador Singhal, that this is the same country that this is the same country who will hang the victim for killing her rapist.
Yeah. See, the point is that we can discuss and talk about the merits or demerits of a regime, but that does not change what is happening on the ground. On the ground, what is happening is that there is an asymmetric war which is going on, and Iran, as I completely agree that it has been attacked number of times, many number of times, but the kind of damage it is causing, can it be sustained? Are the Gulf countries who are being attacked, are they willing to take that beating? Because there is a pressure. The global market, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. The energy market is already $110. So the problem is the USA or other Gulf countries or other countries are willing to bear this cost? And mind you, this is a war which has been which has been decided by USA, and the President Trump is asking everybody to contribute to it. And on the one hand, he claims that Strait of Hormuz does not affect him; it's not important. Next day, he's asking his NATO allies to help in opening the Strait of Hormuz. Now he's giving 48 hours notice to Iran. If it is not important, or if the oil prices are not important, or the loss which is taking place to the Gulf countries, rightly or wrongly, I think at this moment, I'm not going to that debate, who's doing right, who's doing wrong. But the point is, this loss of the civilians or the economic infrastructure, or is anybody willing to pay for it? No, I don't think the Gulf countries they are willing to. They are, I think, already pressurizing USA to somehow protect them or to close down. I agree that the Gulf countries do not want Iran to be powerful, but and they want USA and Israel to take action. But at the same time, they're not willing to pay the price. They don't want to be protected. that let somebody else do their job. So, it's a very, very...
All right, you have a fair point, sir. Let me also, in fact, bring in Ambassador Pincus once again. Ambassador Pincus, there is also, a group of people and geopolitical experts who are going on to, repeat the fact that, or repeat the notion that America does not have a dog in this fight. They don't have any skin in this game. They are only doing this because of Israeli pressure and Israeli lobbies in Washington, D.C. What do you have to say to those people?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that claim. By the way, it's been made, Vineet, since 2003, since the U.S. invasion of Iraq. Now, there are two sets of arguments here. One is that Mr. Netanyahu manipulated Trump and dragged him into this war, and it's not America's war. And Mr. Netanyahu essentially got America involved or to intercede in a war that it has no interest in. Okay, that's one argument. The other argument, which negates the first one, is that as much as Mr. Netanyahu tried to convince, persuade, prod, and even manipulate Mr. Trump, there's no way in the world that the Prime Minister of Israel can bring an American president to go into a war in Iran if the American president does not want to. All this talk about Mr. Netanyahu's magical powers and the pro-Israel lobby, it has a grain of truth that they are powerful, but it smacks of a conspiracy theory, as if the U.S. is being held hostage to Israel. On what ground? What could Israel possibly provide the U.S. that the U.S. cannot do without? There is a case to be made, and President Trump detractors on both the Democratic side and within the Republican MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement, they're saying something very simple, and by the way, something very salient and important, and that is that America has no interest in Iran. And America has an interest in the Strait of Hormuz being kept open, and now it's not open, and America did not plan for this. And if nuclear proliferation is the issue, then what is America doing about North Korea? What did America do about Pakistan, your neighbor? Nothing. In fact, they helped it. So all of a sudden, to turn this against Iran. By the way, parenthetically, this is for a different conversation, and the two smart and experienced gentlemen, colleagues that have spoken previously here. Originally, Iran's nuclear program, this goes back to the 70s. Originally, Iran's military nuclear program was designed to balance Pakistan, not Israel. And so, yes, things change, and yes, this is an intra-Islamic feud between the Shiites and the Sunnis. We don't have time to get into that. My point is, America thinking it could change Afghanistan, it could change Iraq, it could change Iran. It's doing nothing in Pakistan. It beckons a lot of questions about what indeed is America doing here.
You're quite right, sir. You're absolutely right, and I concur with you. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I'm positive we're going to continue to talk about this in the days to come. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation.